Do not be a hoarder. Do not collect items that you do not need, right? If there's not a space for this item to go, then I cannot bring it into my house. In order for me to bring this in, I have to have space for it. And this is why cabinet companies make so much money, because people have so much stuff that they just don't need that they have to buy cabinets, and they spend 10 grand on these cabinets to store stuff that they're never going to use. It's crazy. If you look at the number of cabinet shops, I'm a woodworker, right? And one of the biggest branches of woodworking that makes the most money is cabinets, because you can make them out of plywood and you can sell them for absurd amounts of money, because this is a problem that everyone has. But you cannot do this because to those who have more will be given, right? That's a law in the Bible, and as well just in the world in general. If you look up like the Pareto principle and whatever it is, like there's basically the concept is this, like if there's something, the snowball effect, there will be more of that thing, right? If you have a snowball and you roll it down the mountain, it will collect snow as it goes down. If there's hair on the floor, then when you're sweeping it up, or even if just in the day-to-day, like it'll collect together and make a ball of dust, a ball of hair, right? If there's junk on the kitchen, dining table, then there will be more junk there. A kitchen that is dirty will get dirtier. A kitchen that is clean will stay cleaner, right? It's so much easier to maintain something that's really good, and it's so much easier to let go of something that's already bad. So the extremes will push to the extreme. You can only expect something to slide down the mountain, right? And there's, you look at the bell curve, there's two sides of the mountain. Eventually, everything that's in the middle, in this hypothetical, you drop it down and it slides off, and then it's on the two ends, right? So things will be pushed to the extremes. And life is a process of pulling it back to the middle. It's crazy too how this all works, because there are two political parties, and there's the extreme left and the extreme right. But most people would say like, well, I fall somewhere in the middle. It's a bell curve, right? And, psychologists will talk about this, where there's two personality traits, or characteristics, I should say, one of the two, whatever it is, that decipher which side of that bell curve you fall on. And so at birth, you can kind of guess what side your child or this person is going to be politically when they're in their 20s and 30s, and most likely leaning towards for the rest of their life, because of the way that they're born and the way that their brain is wired. And there's a good reason for this, and I'm going to connect to all of this. So this is how I do it, right? If you've been watching for a while, you understand. Anyways, there's a good reason for this. The conservatism side is the one that's less open, so less creative. There's more borders, more boundaries. And you need that, because the same way that you need walls within your cell, the cells in your body, to ward off disease and the bad germs that are in your body, you need those walls to prevent something bad from coming in, right? But at the same time, you need an opening in those walls, some way for food to get in, some way for water to get into those cells. You need to be able to live by having an exchange between the cells and then their surroundings. So you cannot have an open exchange where it's just, everything is just nonstop going because there's no organization. But you cannot have walls closed off so, you cannot have yourself walled off so well that nothing gets through, because then you starve yourself, you die. So there has to be an exchange in the body, and in the same way there has to be an exchange in life. And so what that looks like, the pendulum swings back and forth. There will be times when change is needed. And so then the Democratic Party will be more likely to win in those times, because there is change that is needed. And then there'll be other times when the conservative side will win, because that is what is needed for more boundaries to be put up. And there's a lot of actual physical boundaries. This is why the wall was such a big deal for Trump to win, because it's a boundary. And so his conservative base of voters are going to be more inclined to support him. And then the same thing with over on this side, canceling, I don't know if canceling debt would fall under this, but opening the borders and just all these different things. That's more of a Democratic thing that Biden will use to win support on this side, right? Okay, where does all this fall into place? The same way that there are extremes in the political parties and that people will be pushed to the ends, in your life, there will be extremes in every single category. And over time, it's only the case that it will be pushed to the extreme. And the process of government, the process of your life, of whatever it is to bring everything back to the middle, right? So you learn in the extremes and then you pull it back. There's things to be learned from each side, right? There's not one political party for a reason. There are two main ones that have stayed there for such a long time because there are things to be learned from both sides, or else there would only be one. But there has to be two. There has to be constant back and forth as you zero in on this goal, right? But that's the thing, is you can't just zero in on the goal because you're moving up, right? So over time, you're zeroing in constantly, but that is going to change. The direction of the line moving up is going to change a little bit. So the average is always going to change as you're going up, if you can kind of visualize that. So you can see that in the political parties in the same way you can see that in your own life. Okay, so then you don't want things to be too ordered, right? Like having cabinets everywhere. But you also don't want to have no cabinets, no places to put things. So if you want to live a great life, sorry that I keep scratching my nose. If you want to live a great life, then you have to have a balance between these two. And that starts with your physical location, where you live, because you're going to emulate your physical location in how you set up your mind. There's a concept called memory castle. Basically, you design, I haven't done it yet, but I like the idea. You design a castle, a home, a space in your head of what you want it to look like. And then on the walls, you decorate it with memories, ideas, lessons learned, the book that you just read, all the main points, whatever it is, so that you can walk in and basically pick it up off the wall in your mind and then read it off, right? It's so much easier to remember something when it's in its place. And oh man, it makes so much sense now, because I can find, if there's a drawer for socks, then I can find my socks, right? So then now this continual process, there's a place for them to go so that I can find them when I most need them. Everything is in its place. So my maintenance item is now to put this thing into place. That way when I need it, I can go get it and it's easy, right? The same thing happens with memories. And this is why the guys that will read out 100,000 digits of pi, the guys that have the men and women, the people that can read these digits out for, long periods of time, like hours on end. The reason they're able to do it is because they memorize it in groups and they store it in a memory castle in their head. So they have a physical space that they can walk through and they read out numbers off of a wall. And where does all this come into play? You have to organize your life. You got to have the bins to put things. You got to have the cabinets, this constant interplay between you and your mind of where you're putting things. So in the same way that you have a grocery bag and you use that as a temporary thing, you walk out, fill up the grocery bag, you come back and you put it in the fridge. But if you left the groceries in the grocery bag, they would never get eaten, right? The ultimate form of this. Maybe if you left them in there for a couple hours, they would, be in the way on the countertop. And so then you wouldn't be able to use the countertop. Whatever it looks like, a bag is not meant to hold things for longer than just a short period of time. It's to allow you to bring the groceries from around the store that you collect to a central place to check out, put it in your car, and then to disperse them again once you get back to the house. This constant interplay of condense and then disperse, condense, disperse, right? The same thing with a laundry bin. My laundry bin is not where I'm supposed to store my laundry. When I clean my clothes, the bin is supposed to help me to keep all the dirty clothes together, condense. Then when I wash them, I will disperse them once again when I put them up on my shelf. And I'll put the jackets up on the coat rack. And then I put my tie over there and the socks in the drawer. There are places for things. You have to order your mind this way. You have to order your life this way. There's time for this type of person. I'm going to reach out to them, once a month. I'm going to use my time like this so I can build out this idea that I have. And here's the crazy part, is that unless you have a system for all of this, then it is not yours. So if you don't have a system for your house or for your kitchen and things are dirty, it is not yours. It has been taken over by the mess. And so it belongs to that. Until you have control of it, then it is not yours. In the same way with your mind, if you do not have control over this dream that you have for your life, over the plan, the vision that you have, if you do not have control over your relationships, they are not yours, right? They're just something that is happening or that you've experienced, but it is just passing through you and you are just a stop along the way. An idea takes hold of you, and unless you act on that idea, it will leave and take hold of someone else. And so it is not truly yours until you have done the work to hold on to it, right? How do you hold on to something? You make it, it's the same way that like everything is related. I've talked about this before. Relate it to the physical world. If I want to hold on to an item, I have to make it easier to hold on to. So if it's slippery, then I have to make it less slippery. whatever that looks like for an idea. You make these things more able to be concrete and to hold on to. You have to develop them. You have to understand what exactly the idea is and what it would require of you. That way it's your idea and it's no longer a passing whim. You have to be in control of your ideas, your experiences, mistakes, all of these things in order for you to truly be you. And unless you're taking the time to do that work, it is not yours and you are not yourself. And so if you want to be yourself, if you want to actually do something with this life, if you want to be in control, that is what you have to do. You got to put in the work to understand who it is that you are, what has made you who you are today. All the experiences that you've been through, how have they shaped who you are? If you don't do that work, you are not truly you. You are not in control. You have to do these things in order to be you. And that's the crazy realization that I've had with doing these daily thoughts, is that I am truly me. I really think I'm getting closer to being truly me. And this is something that very few people can say. The same thing I said in a couple of videos ago, almost down to the word, what I just said. You have to understand these things. So imagine every single day as that grocery bag. You're going out, collecting experiences. Then you come back home. But there has to be a place for those things. I have all the ideas that I had today, and I'm going to put them in my ideas doc throughout the day. But they're all different types of ideas. For me personally, I have this idea for the Frat House, a show, a TV show that's about, literally about a frat house, right? I get ideas in my daily experience all the time, and it's a fun idea that I have. And if I want it to be truly mine, then I have to put these things in one place. I have to condense all those ideas, right, into their place. It's no longer in the grocery bag, which would be my ideas doc. It is now in the cabinet that is the frat house, right? So that cabinet belongs to these ideas. Okay, what about the experiences? Well, since they are very intense experiences that I want to remember, I have to process the 50 States Marathon Challenge weekends. So every single time I go do one, I come back here and I'm getting in the habit of recording a video about the whole process so that the details don't slip into the abyss. They are mine. This experience is now mine because I've taken the time to understand it. And now that it is mine, I can put it where it's supposed to be. And so you'll see that I have a folder on here, a playlist that belongs to the marathon, 50 States Marathon Challenge. So now those experiences, that time that was spent belongs to me because I have taken the time to write it down, make it more condensed so it doesn't slip away. And that's what it is. It's making it more concrete. It's writing it down. It's processing the experience that I went through. You cannot be a force for good in the world. You will be swept away in the storm unless you build that foundation, unless you put the pillars down. And what are those pillars? They're your day-to-day experience. What is that concrete foundation? It is what you've been through. It's your story. So if you don't want to be swept away in the storm, if the hurricane, once it comes in, and it will come, if you don't want to be swept away in the hurricane, then you have to make sure that you have a strong foundation, that you're bolted down. And this is why so many people are afraid to go out into the world. They stay in the state that they were born in, the city that they're born in. They go back there because those are their roots, right? Quote unquote. That's the whole phrase people use, going back to my roots. But that's not where you're supposed to be. We're not meant to just stay where we were born. We're meant to go out into the world, have the adventure of a lifetime, and figure out where it is that we belong. Because if we were meant to stay there, then maybe we'll go back there. But most of the time, there's a place calling for you to be there, somewhere else. There's a lot that I just gave you, but look, it's basically this. Go out and live your life. Do crazy things. Understand the experiences that you've been through. Even the minute things. The ones where it's like, why did I say that thing? What caused me to say that? Or why do I always default to this type of way, type of communication, whatever it is? What have I been through? What are the mistakes that I've made? And how are those mistakes forcing my hand in situations that I don't want to do? I don't want the situation to play out this way, but I'm allowing myself to do that by not fully understanding why I act in that way. I cannot be angry at myself for acting in a certain way if I haven't done the work to not act in that way, to understand why I'm acting in that way in the first place. To be able to correct that mistake, I have to understand what is wrong in the first place. And so if I haven't done the work to understand the mistake, I can't be mad at myself that I continue to make it. The same thing happens with me, or like a good example of how this happened to me. There has been a lot of situations I've talked about on here where I want to punch a hole through a wall. In the past, I haven't gotten the feeling recently because I realized that I cannot allow myself to continue to be annoyed at the situation that I'm in. Every single time I get this gut feeling, instead of seeing it as like, man, I just wish everything were different, but it's never going to be. Instead of saying that, I say to myself, okay, this can be different. My situation can change. I've seen it in my own life. And so if I want it to change, now is the time that I have to do that. Whenever this feeling arises, that is a signal to me of my body telling me, hey, you need to take action on these ideas. It's been some time since the last time that you moved forward on this path. And so we're going to send you a feeling of disgust. And you're going to want to punch a hole through the wall, but that's not what you should do. Instead, you should use this as a signal to go out there and do something, to get something done. And so that I've reframed my life like that. And I'm not the best at it. I'm still getting better. But now whenever that feeling pops up, and usually it pops up when the girl I like or whoever it is that I'm interested in at the current point in time, when whoever that she is, pops up on Instagram and I'm like, I wish that could be me, but it's not because I'm not living up to the man I'm supposed to be. If I want that, whatever it is in the future, if I want to be capable of achieving that position, then I have to put the work in right now to be able to achieve that in the future. So whether it's the girl in the red dress or it's the idea that I have, 200 countries, it's seeing someone else achieving my dream. It's just anything where I recognize that I'm not living up to the man I want to be. When I find myself in that situation, I get that feeling of disgust, and that is reinterpreted to be the feeling that causes me to act. So now I'm fueled by fear, fueled by disgust, on top of being fueled by passion and excitement and joy, so that any time of day I'm moving forward towards this goal. And that's what you want. A bike pedal, the best bikers, they have shoes that clip in. So not only are they pedaling down, but they're also pulling up. And that's the only way that you're able to bike as fast as you can, is if you're pushing and pulling every single time. And so you got to have both of those forces in your favor if you want to achieve the massive heights that you should and could achieve in this life. There's one more thing I was going to say on that, and man, this is a good one. This is a really good one. So, let me try to figure out that last part, what I was going to say. It slipped my mind. I'll figure it out later, but we'll leave it there and just take the time to set up your life and live how you should, how you could. Try to figure out the massive heights that you could achieve in this life. Reinterpret that feeling of disgust as a signal that you should be doing more, right? On top of the feeling of excitement that you continue to do more with that thing. The thing I was going to say just a couple seconds ago when I got paused for a second, I had to let my mind catch up. The best athletes have learned to interpret the feelings that they get before a race as excitement instead of nervousness. So you get an athlete who's in high school, it's a big race. Oh man, we're at state, it's my first time. Versus like a senior in high school or a senior in college or an Olympic athlete. The better athletes have learned that sweat and the heart pumping and all that stuff, it's not nervousness. It is the same signal as excitement. So they've learned how to interpret that as exciting. I've done the work. I've got the confidence that I will put down the best of my ability today. And this is just another practice. It's no longer a competition. The competition is the practice. These are the moments where I'm practicing to get better for the ultimate competition that I will face. The day that I do my best. That is the ultimate competition, and hopefully that day will never come. Hopefully I will always be striving to get to that spot, but never at the peak. And that's what you want. There is no summit. You're always moving towards it, but it is, as Matthew McConaughey says, it is my hero. My hero is 10 years away. I'm never going to achieve that, man, but I will get close. And every single time I'll move forward. Every year, I'm 1 year closer to this 10-year out version, and he moves 1 year further away. And so that I'm always moving up and forward. And that's what you want for your life. Reinterpret everything, understand your life, your experiences, and try to move forward in the world towards this vision that you have. Use both sides of fear and excitement and disgust and enjoyment, all these different things, as a force to cause you to take action. Because the only thing that will get you from where you are to where you want to be is movement, it's action, it's motion. So you want some more motion, you got to force it to happen. You got to move in the world. This is a good one. I really enjoy this one, and I hope that you watch it twice because I just dropped basically everything that I've talked about in the past 97 videos in this one. So it's good. It's really good, man. I love y'all. Buenos.